Johnson City and Kingsport, two baseball teams going in different directions. Pretty odd. I mean, think about the Appalachian League. By the way, I'm Marky Billson. This is Tri-City Sports Now. Listen on AM 1420, WEMB Sports Radio, as I'm sure many of you are. If you missed something, go back in the archives. Like us on Facebook. We are now the most liked and followed sports radio station in the market on Facebook. And so the show is always archived. You can watch it, after it's on. And if you missed it, and it's usually, although it took me in the middle of the night tonight, we slug. So, generally speaking, a little bit after the show, maybe the next day or so, you get to see, oh, here we go, talking to Will Craig at 1:15, talking to Rick Conti about bringing baseball to the region, Major League Baseball, that is, talking in just 15 minutes to a old sports writing friend of mine from Pittsburgh, Jim Wexel. He covers the Steelers. He's just written a story. I'll hold it up. Where do I have it? Here. Okay. Record-setting rookie QB Hodges just one step away from Steelers' spot. Can he beat out Josh Dobbs? For that matter, Mason Rudolph for the last spot on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that is a story of local interest since Hodges played for Samford in the Southern Conference, nearly knocked ETSU out of the playoffs last year after he broke Steve McNair's passing record for the FCS. Wait a minute, he broke Steve McNair's passing record? Passing yards? Steve McNair had a pretty good career. What about Hodges? Hey, why is he a free agent? And McNair is number one pick in the draft, first-round draft choice. What's going on here? That sort of, okay. But I was talking about the USWNT to begin with. I also was talking about, before we left, yes, Johnson City, Kingsport, two teams going opposite directions in the Appalachian League, and they're playing tonight. Johnson City, I believe it's fireworks night there today. 6:30 starts now. Okay, there's some free advertising for them. Don't let the Appalachian League say that I've never done anything for them. Talking about the USWNT, and I said, there was a lot of positives about this team. They're winning. They're really, and I know that gender equity, gender pay equity, there are some flaws with it when you look at maternity leave, and just that takes away seniority time sometimes. Should it? We can debate that. We can discuss, is there a female equivalent for a job like Major League Baseball player? That's, or even firemen. And I know there are female firemen, but are there as many as male firemen? I get that. Okay, there's some questions about, is this really, gender pay equity and all that, that sort of thing. But the women soccer players are making more money than the men. I think they ought to be paid more then. Don't you? And they're fighting for that, and I can respect that. And also, there's now, this is obviously, I think it's the most openly gay team that I've ever seen. Maybe it's time for that. So let's discuss this. But here's where the USWNT loses everyone. It's that game against Thailand. The first time that we saw the World Cup, we saw this team carrying on like jackals after they've got the game won. Oh, it's 3-0 at halftime. They got the game won. That's 4-0. Oh, that's quite the celebration. I guess it salts it away. It's like 28-0 football, I guess, that sort of thing. It's now 5-0 they're cheering. It's now 12-0 and they're doing these choreographed celebrations. Act like you've been there before. In football, that other kind of football, you get a 15-yard penalty for carrying on the way the USWNT does after a goal. Doesn't sportsmanship fit in the ideals of the modern athlete as well as equal pay? But that argument, hey, that's old hat. It's a couple of weeks old, right? That's when that game against Thailand was. So let's talk about yesterday. After a goal, Alex Morgan's tea-sipping celebration. And by the way, in my story, I do my monologue and I write it out and I put it on Medium. So if you haven't seen the picture, you can see the picture of Alex Morgan after she scored what turned out to be the winning goal of the game, her tea sipping, that sort of thing. And, it looked like, to somebody who may not have known better, oh, look, it seems like she's smoking a J. I mean, you had that sort of, look, what is this? And here's a problem. You're in France, you score the winning goal against England, and then you celebrate like you're sipping tea. That celebration is the epitome of the ugly American. And if we're being PR there, if we're trying to explain away Morgan, oh no, it was sipping tea, it wasn't looking like you were smoking a J, then look, if she's promoting marijuana use right there in the middle of the soccer pitch in the land of wine, let's say, I mean, boy, that's really great. France is known for wine and America is known for marijuana. Boy, so, you want to say America's the greatest country, and I certainly believe you, but they point for France right over there. I mean, that sort of thing. Here's the thing. Do we really want stoner culture to be associated with women's soccer? I mean, if that's the case, because I don't know if there's been an official clarification yet, or if, I'm looking at sound bites. Now, maybe I've missed something. But really, and even there's that part of this team's fan base culture that, look at that, isn't that great? She's making out like she's smoking a J. And you're like, do I want to be down with this? Now, when Rapinoe was benched before the game also, USWNT didn't help their matters out any, and this is on them 100% because they kept mum on what is believed to be a hamstring injury. And folks, I said it once, I said it again, the NFL has it right. They demand that you report the injuries, although, did the Rams really report Todd Gurley and all this? But if you don't, you get fined, And when you're USWNT, and I know you're getting good ratings and all that, but you're still trying to promote your sport. You're still trying to make it okay to have women's soccer. I mean, it's okay to have women's soccer, that's accepted, but that it will become more accepted that, hey, young man, he wants to go out for the football team, the baseball team, the soccer team, the track and field team, whatever. You're really trying to make it out, hey, young lady, it's okay for you to go out and play sports as well. That's one of the messages that's sent, supposedly, with the USWNT. More power to it. More power to that argument. Do you want stoner culture associated with that? And also, do you want, then, the idea in this big game that your star is on the bench and you don't give your fans a reason why? It's where the NFL gets it right and the USWNT got it wrong, as well as any sport that doesn't report its injuries, which is pretty much all of them. It's saying, we'll bench the star if we want to, and we don't have to tell you why. Nah. That's not good for marketing. That's why the NFL is so popular and why you're just like, geez, I really don't know about this USWNT. And because the USWNT had silence on Rapinoe's injury, there then immediately became a Twitter rumor that President Donald Trump had forced the USWNT to bench Rapinoe due to her criticisms of him. Now, I gotta tell you something. That sort of conspiracy theory gets you thrown off social media if you're a conservative political commentator. But hey, we're discussing it now, And then thereby comes the divide and the polarization of the USWNT. Brought on by themselves. Hey, they released, no, it's a hamstring injury. Yeah, we're out our best player, okay? I mean, If they do that, they're a heck of a lot more credible. Now, even if the USWNT is upset in the finals, they're going to be remembered as the team that allowed women's athletics to have an unapologetic swagger. Okay. Problem is, baseball is now trying to market their unapologetic swagger. And if you throw at the next hitter after a bat flip, why, you're too old school. This in a sport where the best pitcher gets an award named after someone who pitched in 1890. All right? Baseball is pretty old school. We're trying to change that. How's it going? Attendance is down. 4th of July, you're going to see a lot of empty seats tomorrow. How's that going? You're not the national pastime anymore. It's football. How's it going? Baseball has become more about bat flips than hitting behind the runner. It's not working for them. So, how good is that unapologetic swagger going to be for women's soccer and the USWNT in the future? Unapologetic swagger is an acquired taste. Now, one of sports mantras, I said at the start of the show, is act like you've been there before. And now, I realize doing so might not attract the attention that the USWNT has received. But remember this, fame is fleeting. And they're going to be less likely to have support for the more important societal changes, let's say, that the USWNT wants to fight for, than if they actually had some displays of sportsmanship. And, took it down just a little bit a notch. Pumping one's fist instead of making as if you're drinking tea, that sort of thing. Because ultimately, the USWNT's boorishness, it's outweighing their intelligence. That's not good. You know who is good? It's former Samford quarterback Devlin Hodges. But you knew this. You listened to this show. You listened to me talk about how last game of the year that they were playing against ETSU, you could see a record set, and you did. You heard me talk about that a lot on this show. Well, is he good enough to be an NFL quarterback now? That's what Jim Wexell is writing about, and that's what we're going to learn when we join Jim Wexell. Tri-City Sports Now, coming back after this.
Celebrate summer with All American